and we talked about it a bit last week, but maybe I'll just go over it. Um, Briefcase. Maybe I'll just go over it for people who aren't aware. Basically, Resi 4 Briefcase. Here we go. A lot of good briefcases there. So your item management in Resi 4, like you pick up stuff off the ground and you pick up weapons and stuff. And each of those weapons has like a size and it needs to fit into your briefcase for you to carry it around. So you can only have like a certain amount of different items, and each item has its own kind of ammo types and sizes. And I think this is such a cool system for item inventory that I'd like to implement it and see how it looks in the prototype I'm working on. Now, one of the kind of things I'd like to do is I'd like to make it so each of these guns has its kind of own kind of sub-grid that you can add like mods to. So you could have like a pistol and you could mod it with like a damage up or a range up. And depending on the amount of slots each weapon has, then the more you can upgrade it. And that'll work just exactly like this. So that's the plan. The plan is to make kind of like a general grid inventory system. And with that system, you can we can do a few things with it. So not only is it used for items, it's also used for upgrades, essentially. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. And today I'm going to put on... We've got some Resident Evil safe room music. Maybe we'll just put a bit of that on first as we kind of develop that. And we can all feel kind of very safe. Oh, sup, Woodley? How's it going? Yeah. So we're making a briefcase system today, Woodley. I'm kind of worried about it because it is a lot of work. I've done a bit of like pre-planning. Look, I've got this document, and I've kind of like planned out what I think each data type is going to look like and what I'll need. I haven't actually written any code yet, so um, that's probably what we'll do first. Is we'll just kind of get this data into some code, and then we'll start kind of implementing it. Now, I don't know if we're going to get this like implemented today. It might be something that takes a couple of sessions, like 2 sessions, I think, to get something up and running. But hopefully we can get something kind of visual today. And on the subject of visuals, I'd like to go over... I mean, I've been going over real-time CSG a lot on this stream, but I feel like I'm really hitting my stride with it recently. And for this project, I think me and the person who are kind of working on this, we were talking about having kind of it starting an underground system, which is why like the last thing that you saw was like a sewers, and I figured kind of you'd go down into like an underground system, and you start at the surface, and then you go to like a abandoned subway, and from there you'll go to like the sewers, and through the sewers into like an abandoned facility of some kind. So I've been working on making like a subway essentially. So from the top level, it kind of looks something like this. So obviously this area is what I've been working on the most. And there's a few different things to go over what's happening here. So obviously again we're making it modular like we always do. So like these pillars are like a prefab, for example. If I can select them. But one thing you'll notice is this area is kind of like, you can see it like looks dirty. And to achieve that, I'm using, yeah, thanks, Ridley. Like I have and I haven't done a lot. Like I'll try and break it down in a minute because it's actually like fairly simple, although it's maybe like two or 3 days of like work, I think. Again, like very new to like making levels and level design. But yeah, so the kind of new thing I'm kind of working into my process this week is decals. So actually, how is it pronounced? It's decals, right? Or is it decal? I mean, I don't know, but anyway, so you can see how this area we've got like a kind of clean look, and that's just some tiles that I made in Quixel Mixer. Decals, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, decals. And what we've got here, I've got like a basic like dirt texture, and I've just used some decals, like several times. And these decals are like projected onto the geometry. So this space is supposed to look quite worn. So with just a couple of like layered dirt textures, it already looks like really worn in. And then I just kind of put some stickers here. The plugin for this is called Ribbon Decals. And the guy was, I'm assuming it's a guy, I'm not sure actually. Whoever made this was really kind of good to release this for free, and it works in URP. So it's like PBR based, and from having a look at the HDRP, the high definition render pipeline in Unity, they have like a system for projecting decals. So that's just something that was missing with the current Unity tools. So found this driven decal system. If we just quickly pause this, and they were kind enough to make a 60-second video of how to set it up. So you just go into your package manager, put your Git URL in, and this is all you do. You just kind of project a material, and it just kind of goes onto the geometry. You can kind of like have an atlas, or you can just use little bits, and it comes with a couple of different shaders. So it's really flexible. I like it quite a lot. So if you're using URP, definitely worth looking into, I think. And obviously I did some stickers here, and I think they're pretty cool. One thing which I've been working on as well is trying to make some little generic lights. You'll notice this scene isn't really lit. Well, it's like, it's got a directional light and it's not casting shadows. Now, baking this scene for light mapping is going to take me about 3 hours, right? So I'm kind of not light mapping it at the moment, and I'm on the waiting list for a 3070, like, so I can use GPU light mapping. So Unity requires you to have like a 4 gig minimum card for GPU light mapping. I've got like a 3 gig card, so it's like the worst time to upgrade. But I don't know if you can see that, how that decal just goes on the edge. So it's the worst time to upgrade GPU ever, but I really need one for light mapping. So yeah, so this is just, again, it's all just segmented prefab. So this light, it's just a prefab I can move around. These whole subway like rooms and light bars and stuff. Got some stairs. And as you'd expect, where are my stairs? My hierarchy needs a bit of organizing, to be honest. But, you know, as you come to expect, you can just move these about as required. And Just got some basic rooms that again can be copied and moved about as required. Cards are so expensive right now. Yeah, that's so right, Ridley. Like, I'm on like a Discord, um, which has like part stock alerts, and there's just been a couple of times I've missed a reasonably priced 3070. Um, so I'm hoping like at some point over the next week I can kind of find a 3070 to, you know, get. I'm looking at spending about 550 on a 3070, which I think is all right. It's probably the most I've ever spent on a GPU, so yeah. But yeah, I think this is looking really good. So again, just very modular. Just replace bits, make rooms. I guess the idea is that this will be kind of like the surface will be up here, probably in a separate scene, and you'll kind of break into like through some gates of an abandoned subway. You'll kind of go down these stairs, and I appreciate that you have the hierarchy on the right side. Every time I see someone with it on the left side by default, I shake my... Yeah, right? This is just where the hierarchy should go, right? I mean, get it right. Um, my project space, like I've been moving it from bottom right to the bottom when I have it in two column layout. But I kind of switch between them. Ideally, I'd have like a project window in one column here and a project column with a project layout with two column next to my console. But I mean, apparently you can't do that. So, um, but yeah, so I'm happy with this space to begin like kind of prototyping. Obviously, there's loads of rough bits, and these areas aren't really characteristic of anywhere. Like I kind of like I'm like you'll go down here and maybe there'll be like some turnstiles and stuff. There'll be like a waiting area here, and maybe this will be like a food court or something. Um, maybe this is like a staff rating room. Like these rooms can all be kind of given roles, and um, you know we can put keys in them. So to get in the staff room, you need to find like a member of staff that's been mashed up down here, maybe. I tried it in the same section as the console, but I eventually had to have the console there at all times because I suck. Well, I mean, you know, do what works in it, whatever works for you. Um, but yeah, a couple of little hidey holes here. But yeah, it's all scheduled to change, and I think the area, I'm kind of happy with the area for testing for now. But I just need that graphics card to bake some light maps, really. In terms of post-processing, I've just got a global volume, and that's got like a whole bunch of things here. It's just got some bloom, some midtones, chromatic aberration. Like I've tried to make it relatively subtle, but obviously you can see some green here. But a lot of people don't like chromatic aberration, so I tried to make it relatively subtle, although you can still see bits of it here. But I think it kind of works with the Scott Redrup. What's a PogChamp? well, Scott, it's part of Twitch culture, isn't it? You could probably do a. Someone should do a PogChamp emoji to show Scott. You get PogChamp of the day now. I don't know if that's true. There you go. Oh, hi, little Ritlin. How's it going? So yeah, this is look at all of the emojis coming in, all of the Twitch emotes. Okay, hey, I'm doing good. How are you doing today? I'm doing good, thanks, Ritlin. Like, kind of just gone over the scene I've been working on, and I think we're gonna start coding in a minute. I'm kind of terrified. Are we in Raccoon City yet? Well, Scott, you. So the pre-stream video I had this week was like a live-action commercial for Resi 2 that was directed by George A. Romero. So um, you should check that out if you're a Resi fan. Right. Are there any raccoons in the game? Maybe, maybe, could be. um, yeah, I'll get right on that. So what am I making? What script am I making? Refer to this planning I did. So we need an item type, an item ref, a storage grid. Okay, I'm just gonna make a new folder for this. Oh, what have I done? Briefcase. Can we add a poster to the station for Sideglide coming soon? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, oh, the briefcase. Yeah, right, Nova. Right, it's gonna be cool, right? Yeah, Sideglide coming soon might be a bit of a lie at this point. So, for those unaware, Sideglide was a project that I was working on before this, and it's kind of been shelved, like semi-permanently. But maybe it'll come back at some point. So we'll have a C# file called... What do we want to call it? Let me just get the notepad up. So we want storage grid. If I just make these scripts. Item type. Is Quappy Bike more likely to come out first? I'm glad someone remembers Quappy Bike, Scott. So Quappy Bike was it was like a quap-like, I guess you'd call it, where you were trying to ride a bike, but each button kind of controlled a muscle group, and when you crashed into something, you kind of like fell apart. But unfortunately, that's I mean, that was all that was. Yeah, I don't think it needed further development, sadly. Item type, item ref. Storage. What's going on here? It's going very slow today. Storage grid. But that's the beauty of the canon of the game Sideglide is coming out. Like, Sideglide's canonically not coming out at the moment. So, I mean, I could probably lie to you if you like. Do people want to have a look at Sideglide? Just, like, temporarily. I've probably got, like, a copy of it somewhere. Let's have a look. Where would that be? It's not a lie if you say it with intensity. Man, I don't have the intensity today, I'm afraid. I'm feeling particularly unintense. Where would it be? Oh, no, I've got it. I've got it here, look. Sideglide. Alright, well, just to kind of like... I don't know, I guess if people want to see it, I'll set the project to open, alright? What? I don't even know what version it was of Unity it was for. I'll set it for 2019. Don't derail, get back to work. I'll just leave this to import in the background, alright? Maybe it'll inspire me, I don't know. Yeah, okay, so that's loading. So we've got item ref, item type, storage grid manager, and then we've got some UI elements. So we'll have storage grid UI. There's quite a lot of different moving parts to this, I think. Grid cell UI. Oh, this is chill. Item UI. That, yeah. What Resi game is this from? Umbrella Chronicles. Ah. It's a good one. I actually quite like Umbrella Chronicles. It's like a light gun shooter. That retells the Resi games. It's like pretty legit. I quite liked it. It's not like a amazing game. But I kind of I think it's cool. Man. Don't even know where to begin with this. I think I'm just gonna plonk all of these properties into the classes. What game do you think has better gunplay? Fallout 3 or Gears of War 1? What do you think, Scott? What do you think? What would you say has better gunplay? Is it Fallout 3 or Gears of War 1? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Fallout 3 doesn't really have gunplay at all, right? It's like it's a cool game, but it's not known for its like juicy physics, is it? I don't necessarily hate Fallout 3, Scott. I just like it's just not really my thing. I respect it, and I think a lot of people like that game for very good reasons. Like if I was going to play a Fallout game though, I'd probably want to give like Fallout 1 or 2 a go, or like the Wasteland game that came out. I think I'd want to play one of the isometric ones. Oh, hi Sweatshop Dev. How's it going? How's it going, man? How's the game coming along, Sweatshop Dev? Oh, this is just importing, isn't it? Sorry. Oh, good grief. Right, I'm getting sidetracked. We're copy-pasting this stuff in. Briefcase. Let's just get our... Look at all of these classes we've got already. There's no way this is happening within the next hour and a half. Not bad, going well. Imported this sprite sheet I made in Unity and it compressed. Yeah man, Unity's got... It can be a bit like... You have to wrangle it sometimes, right? But what can you do? It's just something you have to deal with. Best gunplay is Hitman Blood Money. I don't know if I played Hitman Blood Money. I played 1 and 2, and I played a couple of the newer ones. Like I rate them. They're cool games. So you're making a grid-based inventory. Supposedly, I'm more so I'm opening up the Sideglide project because people want to see that. So I'm opening that up and getting distracted by chat. But I've planned it out, Dev, and I'm gonna put all of this in, and then I think in the second hour I'm gonna knuckle down and figure it out. You know, this is for the item. Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing here? What am I doing? Sorry, I've just completely unlearned how to code in like a second. Right. So that's item type. So item type's just going to have the definition of... Wait, no, it's not. Yeah. So item type will have the item definition. So this will kind of be expanded on as we put items into the game. But for now, it's just going to have the name, the amount of cells wide and high it is, and how many of that item you can have in one stack of the inventory. So obviously in the briefcase here, like you've got ammo, and ammo you can have like 50 rounds, yeah. So you can have a max of 50, say, per stack. I guess we don't need to define this here, we just set it up. Oh, is this ECS? No, this is not ECS. No. Like, ECS is cool, but there's just a couple of issues with that at the moment. I think Unity have been a lot slower to, what do I want to say? Fix some of the issues with ECS than I thought they would be. I thought by now they'd have a couple of they'd have a bit more integration with the current systems, because like about a year ago they were like, okay, we've got version 1 nearly coming out, and it was really good, like really solid, but I mean, the thing people always ask me about with ECS is animation systems. They're like, how do I get a pure ECS animation system? And it's something that you can do, but you need to use like a third-party plugin, or people have got code on GitHub, but you need to bake your animations, and it doesn't fit into an animator at the moment. So there's issues with it that I would have assumed would have been fixed by now, but they haven't been. I don't know if you kind of chalk that up to, the pandemic, or just issues on Unity's side, but I hope they fix it soon, because once that's mature, like, it's going to be really, really cool and you'll be able to make stuff really quickly and fast. So, okay. I just had an issue. Oh, sorry, I'm just catching up with chat. Tone mapping isn't a post-process volume. Yeah, the HDRP. Like, one thing that's worked with HDRP is looking at the new example project they put out, and like the volume profiles are really powerful, but there's a lot to kind of take in. I agree. I'm just catching up. I agree, Nobleleaf. Like, it's just the issues are integrating it with other things with ECS. So these items will have rotation. So this item ref will be like a reference of an item type. So I don't think I've got an item type in here, so I'll do public item type. Let's call that item type. The X and Y position will be where it is in its grid. Stack will be the number of items in the current stack, so that will be below the max stack we have in the item type. We have an enum called, I'll call this item rotation. So I guess it can be rotated 4 ways. So maybe if I add this as 0, 90, 180, and 270. What have I done here? Do I need to have these as... there we go. Floating. So floating will be whether like the item's grabbed. So if you're moving the item, if it's not like sat in a grid space. So that'll default to false, I suppose. Get grid will get like, I guess that's, yeah, I'll get the current rotation and it'll return like an array. So if you imagine this like an array, it'll return, like this would return an array that was like 8 long, I guess. I'm not sure how I'm storing that array yet, but if I just do like a jagged array, maybe? So public. Maybe I call this get grid size. And get grid size will get the current rotation. I suppose we need to store that, so we'll have public item rotation. Item rotation equals item rotation dot 0. What's happened here? A lot of these things probably don't need to be public. I'll probably go in and change them as required when it's a bit more planned out. Item rotation, target rotation. So you can either get the do I want to call this get grid size, get grid placement, I suppose. Yeah, so it'd be like a specific type of rotation. Rotate will just be like a public way to rotate the item. And I guess that'll be an int if you want to, like a relative int. So if you want to rotate it clockwise or anti-clockwise. Steps. Tidy this up a little bit, shall we? And I suppose also, yeah, we need like a rotation for if we want to just set the rotation rather than rotate it a set number of steps. I'll do that. So is get grid placement returning an int. I think this is going to return an array. So I'm not sure how that's looking or how that's working quite yet, but item type's got this grid size bool, which definitely needs to be renamed, and that's going to define, I suppose that'll be a jagged array, and that's going to define like 4 by 4, like its initial size. And if it's rotated, then in item ref, when you do get grid placement, it'll return an array that's like 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 rather than 4, 4. I don't know if I'm explaining myself particularly well here. But that's going to essentially get a rotated version of the item in cells. So move will just be moving it, and move ABS will move it to like a specific cell, I suppose. I think that's everything it will need. Yeah. Maybe we will. No, I think move lives in the item reference. What else have we got here? Storage grid, grid that stores items, right? Yeah, makes sense. So storage grid is going to be like where a lot of the heavy lifting happens. Maybe these don't need to be mono behaviors as well. I'm going to remove those from item ref and item types. I'm wondering why you choose to put the item movements in item ref and not the storage grid itself. That's a good question. I'm questioning that myself. That's something I might do. I'm not sure. I think storage grid should have like a move function. List of item refs. Okay, there's a couple things that I need to kind of, I think will become clearer as this gets developed further. So at the moment I've got like a list of items, I guess item refs. Go to storage. Yeah, I'm thinking get the basics working and then can restructure. Yeah, no, but definitely. So rather than having an array here, like we do for the item type, did I just close that? Yeah, rather than having like an array which defines its size, I think the storage grid is just going to have a list of the items that are stored within it, and as they get moved around it'll check for valid locations. Is the item type? Yes, the item type is going to be a scriptable object in the future. So item type is, there'll be some kind of scriptable object array that stores all of the different item types. And I suppose that'll just store all of the definitions for items in the game, like key item A, gun B, ammo C, healing item D. That'll be a scriptable object that's just stored somewhere in the project folder, and we can update the item descriptions as necessary. That's the plan, at least. Okay. Item ref storage. Yeah, so storage will just be the list of things within this particular storage grid. Check grid pos. Okay. That makes sense. So check grid. I should be commenting this, shouldn't I? Check grid pos is going to check for a valid item placement position. I suppose we need to pass in X and Y. That makes sense. It will say, is this item valid at this grid position? I suppose place will be the same. Find stack. Okay. Could you bring up the text file for 5 seconds? I'm going to screen cap. That's fine. Yeah, that's more than... so... Yeah, I've stopped working in Notepad a bit recently. I've got like a piece of software called Simple Note, but for some reason I just put this all in Notepad. Oh, cool! It's my face is over it. Yeah, of course. So item type, item ref. We got the storage grid and the storage grid manager. And then we've got some display objects for the like the UI. So the storage grid UI will deal with displaying a storage grid. The storage grid cell UI will be one cell in the UI space, and the item UI will be an item in UI space. One thing we'll get to is the storage grid manager, and I'll explain that when we get to that in a moment. Public bool. Oh yeah, of course, these need to be returning. Okay, so find stack. I guess this needs to be find item. So if you've got like, say if you pick up some bullets on the ground, and you've already got some handgun bullets in your inventory, this will be like, oh, does this person have handgun bullets? Yes, they do. So add that to the stack. So that's why we've got like a find item in there, just for like dealing with placing things that you pick up automatically. Type. Okay. Storage grid. I think the storage grid needs an X and Y pos. Is this code stolen from the CDPR servers? Yeah, like... I'm afraid not. I don't think they work in Unity, so... Yeah. Man, I heard about that, right? So... I heard the Gwent card game source got leaked. Yeah, oh... Hey, Rich. How's it going? How's your day been, Rich? Yeah, so... Gwent might have been made in Unity, actually. That's possible. I actually haven't looked. Very good, actually. Cool, cool. Well, let's hope it continues to be good. So yeah, check for valid item placement. Place item in grid. And find... I guess this will be... We want to return like an array, maybe. Or a list. And return a list. So this is going to find all instances of the item type. Of item type. We'll catch up. We'll catch you up next week. Oh, yeah, no worries, Rich. Yeah. Like, good to hear. Apparently sold for 7 million. Oh, was this like the whole source code? Or was it like... Was this all of the source code, or was it like bits of it? Because I know they auctioned off the source code in chunks. I haven't really looked into it though. It's nuts though, right? Okay. Oh, I tell you what. I think maybe Sideglide might have been ported by now. Shall we have a look at that? Oh. What's happening here? Entities. This is not an entities project. Hmm. That's very odd. Jobs test. Yeah, this was using jobs. Jobs test. Sample scene. Oh. What's this? Oh, hell yeah. I was making enemies. This one looks a bit like a dick, sure, but, So I suppose this is where everything was. The dots of doom, yeah. So, yeah, I think this is just because... Let's have a look what's happened there. I don't want to turn this into a side-glide debugs stream. I think maybe the package just needs updating. Packages, or maybe I just need to remove the entities package. I don't know if it should be in here, to be honest. Package manager. In project. Entities, yeah, entities should be removed. Curious. Yeah, true, Nova, true. Like it does seem to be the case in a lot of times. There's an issue with like some kind of dependency. Native array extensions, native lists. Yeah. That makes sense. Because it's using jobs. Jobs. Job. Maybe the job system is just it's just an ECS at the moment. Yeah. Yeah, this isn't gonna run, I'm afraid. I think I might have it hang on. Patreon games. Pre-alpha. I got an alpha from 2017. Oh, here we go. 2019. That's a bit more like it. Yeah. I think I just had issues with the packages there, Nova, because it was a project that was probably made in 2017, and I don't know if I should have updated it, to be honest. Alright, let's see if this works. This has music as well, so maybe we've had enough of Resident Evil and chill, so alright, let's see how this runs, shall we? If it runs. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so this came on quite a bit. Is this the version? Yeah, there's missions and stuff. So you use the right mouse button to fly, and you can kind of flap quite a lot. I wanted to add in like a flap meter, right? You've got like shots. Ship it. If only I could. If only I could. It looks good, right? Whenever I've been away from it for a while, I'm like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. Let's try and find a mission, shall we? There should be some missions. These M markers are missions, so I put 2 mission types in this. There was like a fly through rings mission and a shoot things mission, so. Okay, so this is a fly through the rings mission. Oh, early access right here. Yeah, I appreciate that, Nova. it's got issues, and I think they can be resolved. There's just some fundamental design issues, because this is like a fully procedurally generated game, right? And like even the missions are procedurally generated. But but like making procedurally generated missions fun it was like a pretty tall order. I think I can do it. It's just man, I put a lot of time into this, and it didn't really work out. But I think it could in time. Like I've got some thoughts on how to make it work. Did I change these colours? Is this another fly through rings? Let's have a look. Yeah, I think the blue ones are fly through rings missions, and the red ones are like enemy missions. So it's good to see some love for Cyglide. It is pretty cool though, right? It's pretty decent. But it's been over a year since I've shipped it. It's not ready to ship, man. It's not. It could be. Oh, I think it. Oh. Oh dear. Yeah, it crashed. But yeah, man, pretty cool. Enemies, there are enemies in it. Oh, you know what? I'll load it up again. Where was it? Was this it? Patreon. I'll give it another go. Now you gotta ship it. Here's a enemy bit. So the enemies, like the shooting. I wasn't happy with the shooting in this game, right? I think it's cool. So I'll explain how the shooting works, right? So firstly, if you hold on to right mouse button, yeah, you'll hover. So you can just link your Patreon, Discord. I've only got Twitter at the moment. It's OH Carson on Twitter. I closed my Patreon because I wasn't updating it enough. So you can shoot, and that's where the target goes, right? So the target indicates where you shoot, but the circle is like where your mouse goes. So that's like one-to-one your mouse. So if you invert this, you can actually change your invert settings here. Your sensitivity. You can invert just the flight or the cursor. Like you can do whatever. So there's quite a lot of different things. But we've got the shoot, but we've also got a lock on, and I need to find some enemies to show the lock on off. Yeah, so it just makes some enemies, and you can kind of lock onto them and shoot them and stuff. But the enemy types, like shooting, isn't as engaging as I wanted it to be. Hot purling, actually, yeah, still purling noise. So, I made my own like world generation tools for this. I like this guy. This guy's cool, right? Shoot him down. We've still got like a mission indicator though. That's the red circle, and that'll kind of show you to a close enemy, or it's supposed to. But I mean, this cannon definitely needs a redesign, right? But I think I had asset problems with this, so like you can see how there's flowers there. That's pretty cool, right? But to kind of make each area look cool, I think it would need a lot of assets being made. I think that's maybe something I'm in a position to do, but let's lock onto that. I quite like these monoliths, right? If you go up to them, they kind of like come up, and they've got like kind of symbols on them. Asset store. Yeah, it can't. The thing is though, the generation of terrain has been kind of superseded by Unity's terrain. Like Unity's terrain generation tools are just way better than this, sadly. I mean, it's a good thing. It's not a sad thing at all, but Yeah, like I'd like to make this into like something that's more like rhythm actiony maybe. I think as you kind of go through a you've kind of well, I'm thinking maybe you've got this exploration phase, right? This is kind of how I was thinking to reboot it. You've got this exploration phase where you're flying about a planet, yeah, and you find some missions, or you get given some missions, whatever. And then, oh, this one's badly positioned. But then, like, maybe if you go into a mission, it'll take you into like a rail shooter mode, for example. And you've got like, so the camera is just going down this trail, and it kind of turns into more of like a Star Fox affair. So rather than looking left and right, you're flying forward at all times, and you get like speed control. But you've still got like aim control over like the screen. So as you kind of fly through, you're shooting stuff, and um, like there's going to be like generative music stuff in it. I meant you could use 3D art assets packs to populate it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right, Ian, but I'm a little bit like I think it needs discrete art being made, or it would lose a lot of its flavor. I don't know if that makes sense. The problem is if you try to do something original, if you just rip Star Fox off one to one, you'd be a millionaire. Yeah, there's someone on Twitter who's doing a really good Star Fox clone at the moment, actually. I forget what they're called, but yeah, I'd like to. I think like I like this exploration phase, right? It's really cool and calming, and the movement's really good. But if I could kind of have race segments and then on rail shooter segments, along with like procedurally generated kind of synth soundtracks, I think that's kind of the package how I wanted to repackage this. But uh, it's just like I'm not in that place at the moment, and it's something I will get back to. But not for, I mean, not until, it's not happening this year. And I'm actually enjoying working, like collaborating with people on this current prototype. So, um, whereas this is a very Ollie project, like collaborating is like, I'm learning a lot from it. And, um, like, I'm learning so much. Like, oh, sorry. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put this Chrono Trigger Arrange album on. It's got the Brink of Time, right? It's a jazz version of the Chrono Trigger soundtrack. If you've not listened to it, it's pretty good. So let's put that on. But like, I mean, this time last month I wouldn't have been able to make something like this, right? Obviously, this is a lot more like realistic, but I think given some time with lighting, I could probably make something that's kind of stylized. Yeah, banger, banger is right, Dev. What's the player fantasy? The player fantasy? I don't know what you're talking about, man. Was that just on here, was it? Inside Glide? The player fantasy? I'm gonna need some context. What do you mean by the term player fantasy? It's like, I suppose it's like you fly and it's like immersion, yeah. It's like it's supposed to be like a cool kind of calming space, but like you get into danger and then it's dangerous. Wish fulfillment in the games gives you. It's like exploration, kind of like going through like a fantasy areas. Kingdom Hearts notification. I don't have a problem with Nomura, quite clearly, but the Kingdom Hearts games are like they're like 60 quid on the Epic Game Store. I'm not buying those. Got it, Magical Flight. Yeah, it's like exploring. It's like being a bird in like magical kind of areas. So, but like I want this to be something that's kind of stylized. not in the same way as side glide, but one thing I'm kind of this has turned into just me talking about things stream. But I want this to be like a PS1 background, right? So when you're playing Parasite Eve, which I reference a lot, Bird Survival, yeah. When you're playing Parasite Eve, like you're in this kind of area, right? Like, and I want the backgrounds to be of a standard where they're like up-resed PS1 game. And I'm thinking about having the character be like a low-resolution, like PS1 polygon character. But I need to talk to my friend about that. Like, we've got some ideas. We're still figuring it out, but I'd like it to be like it's real-time 3D, obviously, but I want the backgrounds to be like that, if that makes sense. I recommend the Pathless Carson. Similar vibes to Side Glide, but the flying around in a nice environment. I've actually not heard of that. Pathless. Oh. Oh yeah. Yeah, this looks cool. Like, just going around in thick grass in nature, right? That's like a good time. With a bird. I think I might have to turn the light on, it's getting dark. How am I looking? Okay, that's fine. Okay, right. You planning on pre-rendering backgrounds and compressing them? So I'm not planning on pre-rendering them, but I am planning on making it so they look pre-rendered, because I think we can use like similar tricks they would use to fake stuff in a PS1 game, but like make it like not look pre-rendered, I guess. I don't want to have the compression artifacts. I kind of just want the camera. Hang on, let me show you something cool, right? I know I'm talking about Parasite Eve a lot, but like I really do rate it. Barely typed that in. On a video. Okay, so this is an area I really like in Parasite Eve, right? There's a little police station, and I think like creating an area like this, like it's actually quite detailed, right? But making an area that feels like this, it's also a vibe as well. But it uses like these little camera tricks, right? So I think it's this corridor. Maybe if we get out of the cutscene. Where it uses like focus. I don't know if I'll be able to find it now. But like this area feels like very lived in, right? It's just like a really simple area, but it's got like a whole bunch of like art assets to kind of build up story. And I want the backgrounds to be like this and use that kind of like some of the visual kind of tricks they do in here. So this is like a little isometric area, right? Even though the rest of the game doesn't use isometric areas. So like that door, for instance, how that opens. But like I think one of these areas, like the focus changes as you go forward and back, and that's just accomplished by just a couple of JPEGs, right? And I think like you can do that now with depth of field. But when I see the camera work in this game, I'm like, oh hey, that's actually really cool. And I'd like the camera work to be reminiscent of something like that. All I remember of Parasite Eve is that one guy that's a stickler for gun safety rules. Yeah, so there's a dude that will, you can upgrade your guns. The upgrade system in that game is fantastic, right? But you go to upgrade your guns, which are like your RPG swords, I suppose, in Parasite Eve. You go to the armory in the police station, and it's like he's like a gun nut, and you show him like magazines. He's got like gun magazines about and stuff. Not gun magazines, like magazines about guns. But you can kind of take, say if you've got like a pistol that does one powerful shot, you can take that ability off the pistol and put it onto a different gun if you want. So you can kind of customize your guns in like really unique ways. It's quite an interesting game, and it's something I'm always thinking about when I'm making this. I'd like to make a scene that had that kind of feel. But having this kind of character be like a PS1 character is something which I'm really considering. But character designs and modeling characters. I've modeled characters in the past, and I'm confident I can do it, but we haven't quite got to that point where we've got character designs to model. So, all right, let's get back to the task at hand, right? That was a bit of an epic distraction. Right. Okay, so we've got our storage grid, and this is just going to have all of the references to the items and ways to access those items. Like Nova said, we might want to move the movement of items into the storage grid itself. I'm not sure. Will adding an auto sort function impact your architecture design? I don't think so. I think it's just something I need to be aware of. I'm gonna have to modify it. I'm not sure yet. Parasite Eve should really get a remake or a sequel. Would the FF7 remake? Yeah, I think that'd be great, right? It's not gonna happen. Like I don't think it's just like it's not gonna happen, man. They made a Parasite Eve 3 for PSP, and then the series just died. But like the series kind of just went down in quality from 1 onwards, so I'm kind of happy to see it dead. It had like 1 fantastic game, 1 okay game, and 1 trash game, so it's time to let it lie, I think. Right. Go back to our document. Okay, so we've got our storage grid, and that just has items in it. And now we've got a manager for our storage grids. So, copy paste this. Oh, no, I might want this to be a mono behavior. Maybe not. I'll remove the mono behavior for now. So storage grid manager is, I suppose, going to be... Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think this is going to be where you manage the different storage grids, right? So, I keep referring back to this. So whenever you pick up something, right, in the briefcase, if you've not got enough room where you want to discard an item, like an extra grid will pop up on the right here, and you can kind of put it there temporarily while you like move stuff about, yeah? So in this code, I've got the concept of storage, which is the grid that you're storing stuff on, and table. And table will be like a temporary storage grid. Maybe I just want to call this temp storage. Maybe that makes more sense. So that'd be like the area where you put a gun while you're repositioning things. Storage grid manager. So I've got an open and close. I don't know if I want to move this to the UI, so I'll just comment that out for now. So grab will be picking up an item. I suppose we want to return. So grab. So that's taking an item ref at the moment, but I suppose it could also take our grid position. Public void. Grab. Int x and y. Place, so that'd be placing an item that we've grabbed. A to-do to consider: populate nearby objects into the temp storage. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. Yeah, that sounds good actually. Like, that's something we can implement a bit further down the road. Place. So I suppose this needs a reference to the item, or maybe we are storing the grabbed item in our grid manager, so we'll do public item ref. And we'll call this, I'll call this grabbed item for now, but that's probably a name that's going to change. These all need to be initialized as well, so yeah, we'll remove these for now. Place and place, well, maybe call this place grabbed item to be a bit more descriptive. And maybe we'll do place, and that'll be like a specific item. I guess these need to return bool if they're successful or not. So we're just going to place, and that will be item ref, item int x, int y. And just return false on all of these for now. Examine. So examine will be like a separate screen. What's the purpose of storage grid manager? So, okay. So storage grid manager will deal with the movement of items between storage grids. So now I've thought about it again. The reason we don't have the move and like place on our storage grids at the moment is because we've got multiple storage grids in our manager. Like, it has to deal with two. So I think how we'll interface with those grids is through here, because we're always going to need an extra area to discard stuff. I think that might not be the case, but I think the grid manager is going to be... I'm happy with that for now. I might modify it, but I think that's going to be our primary way to interface with our storage areas. Examine. And that'll take an item ref. I don't know if that needs a bool for success. public. So our discard is going to have a brawl for success in case they try to discard a key item. So I think that makes sense. And auto add will be, well, it'll be like find. Let's go to our storage grid. Hang on. So like we've got the find item in our storage grid. I think auto add will be like that, where it tries to find an instance of the item type and adds to a stack, or it adds something in an empty space. And if it's unsuccessful, it will return false. And then we can respond to that with our UI. Open on fail. I think when I was planning this out, I added this open and fail option to be like, if you pick something off the ground and it doesn't go in, does it automatically open the briefcase menu? And I think I'm going to remove that for now. Yeah, we'll remove that for now, but maybe we'll come back to that. Adds the biggest stack if possible, else adds to empty space if possible. I think these are fairly self-explanatory, so I don't know if they need too much, but maybe for discard, we'll just say return false if key item. And we need to be returning something. Oh, that's a void. Okay. So let's go over this again. So Storage Grid Manager manages two sets of storage grids. One which is the main storage and one which is temporary storage for discarding and moving. Grabbed item is the current item the player has control over. You can grab and place, examine and discard. They talk to storage, so let's go to our storage grid. Our storage grid contains a list of items. We can check for valid locations and place items in the grid. Yeah, and our item ref just has its position, current stack, and the type of item, and the rotation. I don't know if we need this floating option, because maybe we're managing that in the storage grid manager, so I'm going to remove that for now. Okay. Oh man, this jazz sure got jazz. Like, there's saxophones doing weird things. Okay, well, we'll let it play out. We'll let it play out. These need to be initialized. So just have an init function. So if we've got multiple storage grids, we've got this X pos and Y pos, which is like the offset. So that's how we would put one grid next to each other, as we modify the X pos, I think. And maybe we just put these up here. Has anyone played Chrono Trigger in chat? Any Chrono Trigger fans out there? There has to be one. I will disown all of you if there is not a single Chrono Trigger fan in chat. So, just initializing this. The arcade game. Okay, so Chrono Trigger is it's an old RPG, right? Yeah, you should definitely emulate it, right? It was like a SNES game. It's been re-released quite a lot. I think it's on Steam, but it's a JRPG, and it's got, at the time they called it the Dream Team, right? Oh, I'm not thinking. At the time they called it the Dream Team, and it's developed by Squaresoft. It was called Square Enix now. And it was a collaboration between the Dragon Quest developers, the Final Fantasy developers, and Akira Toriyama, who you might have heard of from like Dragon Ball. And they made this game. It's like a 1995 release, I think. Time Crisis is what I was thinking of. The sound. Time Crisis is super legit, dude. Like, I love that game as well, so redeemed. But it's like it's a really revolutionary JRPG, and it's got like I think 40, somewhere around 40 different endings. Oh, I always do that, and I'll need to initialize the storage. Yeah, so it's got about 40 different endings. Maybe I just initialize that here. The battle system's pretty good. It's got like, it's kind of like you travel through time in it, right? Which is why it's called Chrono Trigger. Like your friend invents a time machine, and why would grids be next to each other? Sorry, it's not a suitcase. I'm not a suitcase girl. So, let me see if I can find an example for this. So, Resi for long play. Let's have a look. Full game professional walkthrough. Let's see if we can find some hot suitcase action. Here we go. Oh. Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of birds here, right? You grenade them. Oh man, I think navigating this is going to be a nightmare. We're not going to find it. But say if you, if this is full, yeah. Say if your grid here is completely full, and you get like 3 items, yeah. So it doesn't have a place to store them, yeah? So how this game deals with it is it gives you some temporary storage on the right. So you've got your main storage and your temporary storage. And you can just kind of like move between the main and temporary storage. And anything that's left in the temporary storage on the right where Leon would be, when you exit out, is discarded. Also, when you're like rotating guns, sometimes you need to make room in your inventory, yeah? So you can put like one of your shotguns, like this is really big, right? So you might want to just move this while you're rearranging things. So you'd put that in the temporary storage on the right, rearrange things, and then you'd put it down. So that's why we're having 2 grids. And that's why we're abstracting storage grid from the briefcase itself, because the briefcase is actually made of 2 grids. Yeah, so the XPOS will be like, so in UI space, this will be 0, yeah? And it'll go from 0 to whatever, this is 16 or whatever. And then maybe 19, 20, from 19 to like 25 it'll be X 19 Y0, and that'll be where the grid stays. So that the grid will have the X and Y position will be its position relative to the other grids, if that makes sense. I mean, there's no way this is getting done in this stream, but I think it will make sense as we develop. Yeah. Okay. Where was I? Okay, yeah, we're making initializers for everything. So for our items, I'm just going to fill this with some like data, because I guess our items will just all be like a default item for now. So I'll call this temp width. Maybe we'll make this 4x2, maybe. Do we need that separately from the grid size ball? So, okay. I'm going to set this to be just an array with 8 bools that are all set to true for now. So 4 times 2. New bool. Sorry, this is a bit gross. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And stack max will be... I'll set this to just 1 for now. We're not worried about dealing with stacks right now. So our item type, we'll just set to new item type for an item reference. That'll default to 0, 0. Stack will default to 0. And our rotation. Oh, sorry, excuse me. That's gross. Storage grid manager. Oh, okay, so we need to set up our storage grid, so we'll just have an initializer in here as well. Init. I suppose we want to initialize the storage width and height and the temp storage width and height. So store width. Maybe I think I could be doing some stuff with structs here. And maybe that's something we go back and change. Store width, store height, and temp width, and temp height. That needs to be a void. Well, maybe we just have this be a constructor. I think that makes more sense. Because it's not going to be a mono behavior. And we'll do the same for... was it item? What's the other thing we did? Storage grid. Yeah. We'll do the same for storage grid. Let's make that a... initializer. I guess we'd need this offset set. Oh, we can do that. We can do that. Okay, so storage grid manager, that's going to initialize these storage grids. So storage equals new storage grid. And that's going to be at 0, 0 on the X and Y. and the width is going to be store width and store height and temp storage. There's the storage grid, and that's going to be, so we're going to have that offset to the right, so the X position will be store width +2, let's say, and 0, and temp width and height. Okay, okay. So that's everything set up. We don't have any logic in there yet. The next thing we'll need to do is work on the storage grid UI. And this is going to be what we put into our scene to create the grids. So I did have some... What have we got here? Item UI. Okay, so this is going to manage our UI. And it's going to be a mono behavior. This will eventually be some kind of scriptable object with reference to item UI prefabs, right? Yeah, that makes sense. So item prefab, cell prefab. We'll need to work on those. And a reference to grid manager. So we'll make a grid manager in our awake, I suppose. Grid manager equals new grid manager and store width. Okay, so we'll set up the width and height to be configurable in the inspector. So public int store width, store height. Oh, I always get that the wrong way around. Temp width, temp height. Okay, so this is going to essentially, this cell grid UI is going to be like a square, so it will be a UI square, yeah. And the idea is we'll spawn a bunch of squares in our UI space, and then when we're dragging stuff around, we can like check which square we're over. That's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. We need to set some. We need to set up these parameters we just exposed to the inspector. So store width, store height, temp width, temp height, grid manager. That makes sense. I hope everyone's kind of understanding where I'm coming from with this code structure in chat. Idea for item size: public constable x equals true. Grid size equals new. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea, no belief. So yeah. So I forget what that array type's called. It's like a jagged array. It's an array of arrays essentially, yeah. We just define the size on the x and y, and then if it's got a space in it, we have the 0, and if it's like just to be pretty for prototyping, yeah. Yeah. That's something, I mean, I'm not going to get to that point. There's no way. We've got like 20 minutes left. I'm going to try and spawn some UI in, though. I think that's maybe the most achievable thing we can do. So, I'm not going to worry about setting up... Oh, maybe I'll do that. We'll quickly set up our storage grid cell. No, that's not what I want to do. Go to definition. We'll quickly set this up and the item UI, which is going to be our UI space representations for a grid cell and an item. What did I put down? So these have just got references to their parents. Okay, storage grid cell UI. I think it makes sense that we have a reference to them. They might not be... I think they'll be needed. Okay. They might not be needed. I'm not sure. I'm working very ad hoc on this, as you can probably tell. And that's just got the grid, the cell it's in, and the item rep. We probably don't need all of that information because we can kind of get the grid we're in if we've got the cell through the cell. So maybe we just do that. Oh, maybe we do need... No. No, we can just go through the cell to figure out what grid we're in. I think that makes sense. Let's make these public. I don't know if they need to be public. They probably do. Oh, we're getting to the bone here a bit. Right. Okay, that's good enough for now. We're going to make a UI. Some UI prefabs. So I think I can just disable this real-time CSG window. Hide all my decals. So we're just going to create a new UI. So right click on your hierarchy, UI, and I'm just going to create a panel for now. And for my UIs, I like to have the canvas scaler set to scale with screen size and match the height of the screen size. So that's set to 800 by 600 at the moment. I'm going to set that to 1920 by 1024. I don't often use this background panel asset. We'll just have that for now. Just like a white area. So this will be our briefcase panel. Briefcase panel. And I don't know if maybe I want to have the items be buttons, or I'm just going to make them images for now. Oh, okay, so in our briefcase panel, we're going to need two separate panels. So we need to create another panel. So we have panel, because we're going to have one grid on the left and one grid on the right. So let's maybe change the color of this. And we'll align this to the left for now. And we'll make this like 800, I suppose. By... we'll stretch the height out. We'll align it to the left. We'll stretch the left side height out. And... 800. Maybe that's... No, that's probably fine for now. And then we'll just do the same for the panel on the right side. Align that to the right. Position X to 0. And so I'll have... Maybe I'll set that... Maybe that's fine. Maybe that's fine for now. But I'm going to have these as... I think I'm going to add a UI like alignment group. What do we call them again? Grid layout group. This might not be wise. We might need to... We'll use a grid layout group for now, but I think maybe we'll need to make our own kind of layout group component. Just add a grid. Is that a thing I can do? Yeah. We'll just use a grid then. I've actually not used this. I assume it does what it says. Cell size... I'm not sure what this component is. So it's 800. We make the cell size 90. 90. And the cell gap will be 10. Yeah. Cell layout rectangle. Since when has there been a grid? Yeah, right? I'm kind of figuring this might not be what I want. Let's give it a try. No, that's not it. That ain't it, Chief. Grid. Only a good code-based UI frameworks. I've kind of got my own custom stuff I tend to use. I know they exist. I'm not the right person to ask about that, I am afraid. But I mean, I'm hesitant to recommend... I've been waiting for the new UI framework to come out. Because it looks a lot better to kind of... what's the word I want to use? Like, it's good at, like, maybe unspaghettifying a lot of the stuff you have to do to deal with UI in Unity. Like, this UI mode's actually pretty cool, but it does have its own set of issues. Okay. I think that's working. Some spacing. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm hesitant to recommend waiting for the new UI framework at this point. It is... I think you can use it for certain things, but like it's not quite there. It's definitely worth looking at what's out there, though. I'm sure there's probably a really good package on the App Store that does it, but for me, I found just working with this to be fine for now. Yeah, so that'll be one grid. And then we'll have our other grid. Grid layout group. I just like the idea of world space UI. I mean, you can do world space UI with this. I don't know if maybe you're aware of that already. If you're not, I'll just quickly show you. You can do world space stuff. You just basically create a canvas. I'm a Unity noob. Oh, okay, Nova. Well, like real quick tutorial. It's not too hard. You create a new UI as before, so maybe we make a new panel. Yeah. and you've got this canvas element here. And on canvas, there's a render mode, and it's currently set to screen space overlay. You just check that down to world space, and you can give it an event camera so it picks up clicks. So I'm just going to drag my main camera in. If I warp to that, see I've just got like a square there, and it's huge. You probably want to scale that down, so I'll just set that to be 10:1 height. Like so. Drag that to where you want it to be. Maybe you want it to be like a child. Can't really, oh, it's too small now. What have I done here? Oh, okay. Okay, so that's just like a UI element, right? Yeah, and you can just treat it like any other UI. Like, the scaling's a bit weird. I actually don't know best practice for this, but you can just set the scale down to something very low, like 0.1. I don't think you should be doing that, and then just change your width and height accordingly. So you've got like an element here, yeah? And then if you right click in, well, you can just right click in the canvas and add UI stuff. So if I add some text here, suddenly we've got text. So it's really kind of that simple. And if you add buttons in, yeah, like it'll work just like a UI button. So really easy to do. Add it as a child to something if you want, or you can you just treat it like a game object. So you can make it always look at the camera, for instance. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I imagine it'd be something like this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe we'll just bring. Oh. Let's set these sizes manually. I'm just going to bring the height down. Okay. Let's add our Briefcase panel. What did we call it? Storage grid UI. Cell prefab and item prefab. We need to make those. We'll hide these for now. So what are these at the moment? These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 by 5. So we'll make the store width 7 by 5, and the temp width will be 5 by 5. Let's rename one of these to a cell UI, and we want to add storage grid cell UI onto that. We'll create this. We'll create a prefab of this because we want this to be driven by the UI manager. We won't worry about item UI for this stream. We're going to populate the cell prefab with the cell UI. You know what? I'll make a separate folder called UI. I'll put cell UI prefab into there. And we're going to drag our cell UI prefab into cell prefab. I'm going to delete all of these for now. Because we'll populate these. Delete those. We'll need a reference to the panel though. So in storage grid UI, we'll need to a public. I suppose they're technically rect transforms, but it doesn't really matter for what we're doing. Rect transform. So storage panel, storage temp panel. And on awake, we want to fill these with cell prefabs. So we'll do for int x equals 0, x is less than store width x plus plus. And we'll just do the same for y. We probably don't need to have a loop that's coded like this, but maybe we will in the future. And that's going to create an instance of the cell prefab and add it to storage panel. So we do, how do we do that again? Game object dot instantiate cell prefab. And we need to give it a parent, and the parent will be storage panel. And then we'll do the same for the storage temp panel. And temp width, temp height. We probably store a reference to these cells somewhere. We got an error there? No, we're okay. So let's rename these panels to something meaningful. So we'll call this storage panel, storage temp panel. Yeah. Now when we run this, it should just populate these with yeah, so that's pretty simple, works well. And I think we're going to have to leave it there for today's stream. We got a little bit sidetracked with showing off old games and such. But it's been a fun stream. I've quite enjoyed it. We've actually made some progress. We haven't made as much progress as I wanted to. But I think we can get something up and operational with our next stream, which will, as usual, Friday, 4 PM GMT. I'll probably do a little bit of work in the interim, but I'll go over any changes I made on the next stream. So, unless anyone's got any questions, I'm going to wrap the stream up. Thanks for the support, Nova. It's very, very, very kind of you. Yeah, thanks for coming along, everyone, and thanks for everyone who had a bit of a chat. It's good to see everyone, and just going to sign off. Is Dev streaming? Let's have a little look, shall we? Let's have a look on my Twitch. Because he's working on a game at the moment. And I don't know if he's streaming. He's playing Dark Souls at the moment, but we can give him a little raid. See how we do this. I'm very new to Twitch, so. But Dev's been streaming. Yeah, too much games. Well, hopefully we'll see him sharp. Yeah, hopefully we'll see him work some more on his project soon. Alright, I'm gonna raid now, alright? So thanks for the stream, everyone. Did that work? It didn't fucking work, did it? Hang on. Which? Mate, I'm such a streaming noob. Like, oh my god. You know what? You all know him. Go see Dev. Alright, thanks for the stream, everyone. Cheers.